I'm trying to understand right? Go back to those goals question. Like, what are your business goals, right? Because they're like, well, we need some marketing. Okay, but what are you trying to achieve from a business perspective over the next, year, 2 years, 3 years? And then what problems within that do you think marketing can solve? And then let's talk about whether or not marketing can solve those things.
Oh, yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. Okay, here we go. I hope you are caffeinated. I am, and I'm going to add more to the mix. Why? Fuel to the fire. The show is about to launch. I'm excited. My guest today is an absolute badass. Well, who is he, Casey? Who is he? Well, he's a marketing leader. He's a marketing leader and thought leader, go-to-market strategist, 15 plus years working with companies from 1 million to even nonprofits to even billion-dollar global enterprises. We're going to talk messaging, brand positioning, all the strategies. Recently, he was working with a large 200 million plus division, aligning sales and marketing, and they got the brand growth through the charts. Excited to pick his brain today. Marketing strategist, consultant to growing brands, Kyle Chumas. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate the introduction.
Man, you're a busy guy. You're a busy guy. There's more. That's the edited intro, right? So that's all I could get to without losing myself in the introduction. But like, I'm excited to pick your brain here, man, and smash some things. So I'm gonna hand you this thing. It's kind of heavy, but I know you work out. So here it goes. Okay, here you go. Go ahead and grab that.
Thor's hammer. Got it.
Yeah, grab. Oh, wow. That was a backhanded. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle grabbed Thor's hammer with one hand, backhand grabbed it like it was a tennis racket. Obviously, marketing strength is strong in him. Kyle, take Thor's hammer, smash some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception, set the record straight once and for all.
All of our marketing friends will be happy when we say that. The myth that marketing exists to serve sales.
It exists to serve sales. And I get the sense that you're not buying it.
Not buying. I'm selling hard.
Yeah, where does this come from? Why do so many people think that marketing's just here at the beck and call like a butler?
Yeah, I think it's that short-sighted and short-term thinking, quarter to quarter, hitting numbers, and not seeing marketing as a strategic growth partner.
Right. It's that classic looking at it like it's like you're the make the brochure pretty.
I need a one-pager. Can you get a one-pager for this? Yeah. We love that. We love that. I think the other thing I was thinking about as we prepped for this was that especially as companies get bigger too, the elements of sort of market research and the actual execution start to get further and further away from each other. And my degree being in international business, I went, my classes were in market research, they were in management, so I kind of got like a general business management degree, even though it was a marketing, marketing tilted at the end with some minor classes in there. So I think having that big picture view of the entire organization, the strategy, it gets lost in the tactical. We need to generate leads, and we need to hit our Q1 goals.
Yeah, where do you suppose this come from? Like, what's the origin story of this evil villain?
That's a good question. I mean, it really comes back to what we prioritize, right? If we're prioritizing growth, and everybody wants to grow, but if we're prioritizing profit over everything else, then that's going to be, we're going to start to take reactive measures over long-term strategic investment.
Yeah, it's like you were saying, the short-sightedness. I mean, profit's great. Don't get me wrong. Love me some profit, a little EBITDA in the mix. But forest from the trees, right? I think wasn't even like Bezos was saying how for the longest time, I don't know if it even still it makes money now, I imagine, but for the longest time, he was investing in the future,
Is reinvesting. Yeah.
reinvesting, and it wasn't like on the in the books, you'd say, no, it's not really a thing. It's not really doing that well, but it was, and he was just reinvesting everything.
Yeah, absolutely. He was playing a really long game. And I think the other thing is I think about is like sometimes even just in life, right? But like in this area of sales and marketing, right? Like, when we want something to happen, we start to like take a bunch of reactive actions thinking that that's going to help. And actually it makes things worse longer, further down the road. We do a bunch of short-term reactive marketing to push some sales. Maybe we hit the sales. Maybe we hit the target because we did that, but maybe we burn out our list, or we kind of burn out our customers, or we have nothing coming down the funnel in 3 to 6 months because we didn't think long term and invest in building relationships and building you know, connections with our audience so that we actually don't have to do the reactive stuff in Q3, Q4, or Q1 of the next year, right?
Yeah, the reactive game, right? Like that's not usually a good thing. Being on the defense, being on the reaction, you've lost the initiative, right? Someone's gonna psych you out. They're gonna run around you, whatever sports metaphor it is. Like they're getting around you. If you're just trying to react to them and they got that initiative, if you're on the back foot, it's so much better to plan and to your point, play that long game.
And I think one caveat we can talk about too, right, is
Let's do it.
I think sales and leadership sometimes have a bit of firepower because some of the marketing teams don't fully understand business or financial like they don't understand that bigger picture. And so they might try to sell this vision, but don't deliver on it. Right. And I've seen a few threads in the past couple of weeks where, some people have gotten burned on marketing agencies or, not seeing the ROI of in-house marketing. Right. So they start to get a little less, trusting in those institutions, if you will. And they know that they can, whip a couple salespeople into a number over the short term. Right. And they see that as something they can control. And marketing is, we can sometimes like I said, the caveat is the marketing team can sometimes make it seem nebulous, right? It's like this crafty witchcraft that you can't quite understand and we can't quite explain to you. And then they don't deliver. And of course the team gets burned on that.
Yeah, what is that? And it's like a defensive thing, that there's some mystery and magic to it. It's like you're hiding from the accountability or something. I don't know.
I don't know if it's accountability or not fully, like I said, not fully understanding like what your role is or how to early on. And with like, I'm doing the best I can, in my career. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Right. It was like just trying to keep things looking good and like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like reading blog posts online, trying to figure it all out. And so, some of it might just be that. And sometimes maybe we can be a bit arrogant about it. I don't know. I'll say that for myself, but I won't put that on anybody else.
But it's important that we don't make it a secret and make it, behind a curtain, because I think to your point, you know, sales gets an edge if they've got the firepower because it's clear, like, hey, I can squeeze this SDR and this AE or several of them enough and I'll get some short-term gains. Probably, maybe. But it's like it's more clear. It's like people dialing more, getting on more meetings, and then pushing more sales. Whereas if we make in marketing, it doesn't have to be that, right? It doesn't have to be the mystery. It can be very clear. Marketing, we're going to do this, this, this. I mean, some of it is a little bit strategic, but it doesn't have to be voodoo.
Well, and also I think there's people there's leaders who understand that. eh, there's some who think that we can't track anything today, right? We're never going to be able to track it. Okay. Well, it's 2025. There are a lot of ways to track things, but also just making that investment, knowing that some of the things you're not going to see you're not going to see a perfect ROI on, You may not fully be able to measure it, and just being okay with that, right? Like, can some of the big sponsors that put their sign out in the middle of Fenway tell us the return on that sign that's on the green monster? I don't know.
Yeah. And what's the big one? Is that Citgo?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's like a giant Citgo sign. It's been there for decades. What's the ROI on that? We're talking about
And
it.
people post it and put the picture out, right? So does it influence my choice in where I buy gas? No, probably not. But
Probably not. We are talking about it too. I mean, would it impact it? I mean, I don't even know if I have a Citgo near me. I don't know. But maybe that's why we're in B2B. You're trying to some B2C guys like, "You're talking about it. You can't get it out of your mind. So you're having Citgo dreams. It must be impacting you."
well, and that's a really price sensitive, right? I think every market, but it's really price driven. And that goes back to the market research element of like what's driving consumer behavior or what's driving business decision makers, and understanding what makes them tick, right? And I think that's a part of the business that is really like it's an element of marketing, right? Like it's market research, not marketing, but I think there's an element of that that's, like I said, kind of gotten siloed, and it's like you guys just go do the marketing thing and we'll decide over here, but we don't get the alignment. And that was my big buzzword of 2024, right? I'm like, what year is it? 2024. It was like alignment. It was all about aligning teams, aligning goals, and making sure that we're all rowing in the same direction.
What's the key to alignment?
Patience, a lot of patience. But I really do think it's like understanding the common goal, right? And then understanding what part each team is to play in achieving that common goal. And someone said it last night. It was like, go slow to go fast, right? We have to build this. We have to build out the programs and the structures that are needed so that we can move quickly.
Man, that's powerful. Go slow to go fast. Sometimes it's that slow and steady that actually gets you there. Man, it's that classic turtle thing. Turtle in the hare, rabbit. But if that's what's not marketing, the short-sightedness, just the print shop for sales and that kind of thing, what is it to you? What is marketing and how do you best leverage it?
Yeah, I do think it starts there at the strategy, right? At the leadership table on the business strategy. And understanding. I went back, I pulled out there's an article that I love I always go back and try to find it all the time, from Harvard Business Review. This guy, Roger Martin, talking about what strategy really is, like strategic planning. He's like, strategic planning is kind of this myth, and a strategy should be simple. It should be 4 or 5 answers to a few questions, right? And like, I'm just pulling them up here, right? But just the broader aspirations and goals of the organization, right? Like where we're going to play and where we're not going to play. And then how are we going to win? And what capabilities do we need to build and maintain that winning position, right?
Who's that?
It's a guy, Roger Martin, on a bunch of posts that he's done. I'm not sure exactly his background, but
I like that, the idea of the simplicity, right? And it goes back to the opposite of the voodoo science behind the scenes is simplistic strategy, and then the execution of it can be simple as well because it's not some overly complicated thing.
and building the marketing tactics, from that. Okay, now that we know the answers to those questions, what mediums do we need to be, do we need a everyone wants to make a podcast. Well, do we need a podcast? Is our audience actually, listening to podcasts, or do they have LinkedIn? Like there's some industries that I worked in where like being on LinkedIn didn't matter. It was a bunch of guys who owned sand and gravel pits where, like they're not on LinkedIn. They don't even have a LinkedIn. Couldn't find half the business owners on there, so it's like we're gonna spend all this energy and post on LinkedIn, run these email campaigns, and that is a wasted effort because we didn't really think about the answer to those questions.
Man, I see that kind of disconnected marketing all the time. We put our own biases on other people. We haven't done the time and the research, like you're saying, the research to figure out where they're at or what they're thinking, and so we just, well, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on it right now. I'm on it today, so they must be too. It's so misguided, and then nothing works, and you wonder why it doesn't work.
And I think the other thing goes back to patience, right? Like also not, running tests and shifting gears a little bit, excuse me, but you also need to have the patience to let some things work, and if you're changing, you and I were talking about youth sports and was at my nephew's basketball game last night. And like the coach kept changing the players like all 5 players every couple, it's like they couldn't get into a flow, right? They couldn't connect. And before they figured out who they were defending, they were coming out of the game again. So it's like, you got to give them a chance to kind of gel and mesh. And so another sports analogy, but
It's true. I could just picture. I mean, especially with me in basketball, I'm like trying to, where am I supposed to be right now? And then nope, swapped out, swapped in, swapped. What is going on right now? At least in hockey, they're typically swapping a whole line out together at the same time, as opposed to individual players in and out. That can get confusing. You talk to me about when you first get to an organization, you know, what do you do? What are like the core steps you take when you come into a brand new organization, whether you're consulting with them or you're working there full time? What is your approach?
yeah. So I'm trying to understand right, go back to those goals question, like, what are your business goals, right? Because they're like, well, we need some marketing. Okay, but what are you trying to achieve from a business perspective over the next, year, 2 years, 3 years? And then what problems within that do you think marketing can solve? And then let's talk about whether or not marketing can solve those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's like asking questions first, right? I mean, so many people come out of the gate just trying to smash things or immediately building a new website, and it's like, pause for a second. Um, what I love that. What are the overall business goals? Back to your, the business degree, not just the marketing focus, but the overall business. I think we forget about the rest of the organization sometimes. Hey, where do you get your input? Where do you like to learn from?
So I was thinking about or I was kind of talking about early on, like, my first real ownership of any marketing was in 2010. And so like the HubSpot blog was like on fire back then. I don't know if you remember that, but, they were kind of pioneering the content marketing days. Um, Joe Paluzzi, do you remember Content Marketing Institute? That was like a daily kind of thing. And then the last year or so, I've been following a couple guys, Sangram from GTM Partners and Chris Walker, who used to be at Refine Labs and now Cassetto. Um, those have been kind of like the influences on my perspective over go to market in the last year or two. And then I've been really kind of bullish on the guys over at Copy AI. Kyle Coleman is their CMO, and they have a content marketing guy, Nathan, and they've just been putting out some really awesome playbooks on how they're running their own tool, automating their content marketing journey. But also, he just put something out. It's kind of funny with the myth we're talking about, because he just talked about how revenue operations is now reporting to him as a CMO. And he came up from being a SDR into marketing. And so like they flipped the script on it. I'm seeing mostly in, looking in the market, I'm seeing a lot of marketing roles reporting to CROs now or to sales VPs. Again, I think it's that confidence level where they're kind of like marketing's kind of losing the seat at the table at a leadership level, and there's, a senior director or a director reporting to a VP or a CRO, because they're trying to bake it all into a sales component, and they flip the script. He's got revenue ops reporting to him, which I think is really, really interesting.
Where do you think this is going, man? Like when you look around, can you see around the corner? Like, what are you excited about from the future?
I think what jazzed me about those guys is doing the things that we who have been around for a while know we need to do at scale with fewer resources, right? Like the AI journey. But it's not just about like AI. It's like some of the stuff is drudgery, right? Or we needed massive teams to scale up and do the kind of stuff that, maybe a team of one or two can do now. And what kind of results could you know, what kind of excitement could you bring a leadership team if you're like, hey, I'm going to take these two guys and we're going to go build out this scalable program and generate a bunch of growth for you guys.
I love that. Yeah, shout out to those influencers and whatnot. Many of them been on this show as well. Now you're on this show. I guess you're an influencer as well. Congratulations.
I will coin today. Excellent.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the idea of doing the things we always needed to do, but now we can because we maybe didn't have the team that we needed for that. That's brilliant, man. Brilliant. My next question really is like, who are you? Who are you? Take me back in time, little you days. Did you know you're going to be, marketing and doing all these things and teaching all these other people how to grow their businesses? What was it like being little you, little Kyle?
There was no thought of marketing or business at all. Yes, I mean, little me, we moved to New Hampshire when I was 3, and just I had a good family, happy kid, and I think I told you my mom tells me I wanted to be a dentist. I don't recall that, but
I can see it. I can see it.
my godmother was a dentist, so I probably just wanted to be like her. But the golf kind of took a hold of me at the age of 7, and I just spent summers out of my parents used to get me like a little junior membership at the little 9-hole course, and it was the cheapest summer camp they could buy. So they would drop me off and leave me there for the day. Usually they'd be standing at the 9th green waiting for me to come up in the dark on my like 4th, 5th time around. So that was really like what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to play professional golf, and Tiger Woods was like the man of the hour at that time. So maybe not the best role model today after all we know
As we
about
learn
it.
more, yeah.
But he was the man at the time. And yeah, so I mean I followed a buddy college friend of mine to college. I went to Quinnipiac and walked on their golf team, and earned some scholarship there over the years. And my degree was really kind of an afterthought, honestly. Like I wanted to go to school there. It was a beautiful campus. My friend was there, um, but then I took an international business class as an undecided liberal arts major, and I decided that's what I wanted to major in because I enjoyed the class was all about researching countries and culture and natural resource, like just getting to know people and places that I had never heard of. And I told my teacher, I'm going to drop your class. And he said, why? And I'm like, well, I'm going to turn it into my major and take the 200 level class next year or next semester. So I was like, okay. So I graduated with that degree. They told us, like I said, it was sort of generalized. So they told us if you can, try to find a minor to kind of round out what you're doing. And so I took a couple of classes in marketing to basically check off that minor with, again, no real intention in going into marketing. And then after I graduated, I went and worked for about 9 months down in Myrtle Beach at a golf academy. I was teaching golf with an old instructor of mine. And I kind of realized that that dream wasn't gonna be going anywhere at that point, and I wasn't really willing to chase it anymore. I didn't want to do what it was gonna take. I was watching some of the other young guys, running around mini tours and staying in seedy hotel rooms and spending $3,000 if they won to make a few $100. Like it's a tough go to get to that level. And so I came home and I took a job that was my first job out of college after that. But my boss at the time was like, "You have a marketing degree." And I always laughed about it because I'm like, "I don't really have a marketing degree." So he just kind of like gave me the keys to the marketing because we were 7, 8 people. And so I started, building um, out marketing, hiring agencies and building out websites and social campaigns, all that kind of stuff. And the rest is history.
Man, it's crazy. Crazy. And now it's how did you say that you retired from golf? You don't still play? Like,
I say I'm semi retired. After after I got back, I kind of stuffed the clubs in the closet for a while, and I remember my dad being like, "Will you play golf with me?" Kind of came to me one day and was like, So every once in a while, I get a friend who wants to take me out, or my parents. I get a couple rounds in with them a year, but yeah, in the last probably 10 years, I've played at maximum 4 or 5 rounds a year. So
well, we change and move and all sorts of things. Um, well, my next question is a bit of a hypothetical because you see, I may or may not have a time machine down here in Nashua. So just come on over, get some beer, mess around with the time machine. You go back in time, you get to meet yourself 4 days after graduating with that business degree, international business. What would you tell yourself?
just to like try more things and be willing to break stuff and fail and just experiment a bit more. So, and I'm always even like a couple of years before that, like I'm always really glad to hear kids doing internships and stuff like that. Like my summers were spent working at a golf course and playing at a golf course, and I didn't really think about doing an internship or trying different career avenues. And then I also think the marketing advice that I usually give to younger people, like if they want to get into marketing, is always in the realm of one, do you want to work for like do you want to do one thing or do you want to do a lot of things? And that's kind of my answer to like whether you work at a big company or a small company. And do you want to work on one brand and building one brand, or do you want to work on a bunch of brands? And so that's kind of like, are you going to be in house or are you going to be working for an agency? And so that's always my thought process with kids who are looking to get in marketing because it kind of helps direct you, right? And I had a friend that 2010 timeframe. He was working in an agency. He's still been there. Justin Martin is his name, and give him a little shout out over at.
Shout out, Justin. What's up?
Do you know the guys over at Altos? You know that name?
I'll just know. Tell me about it.
So yeah, so he was like they were really small at the time, and he was working there, and I was working on the company that I was, and I enjoyed being in house and building out a brand, building out one thing, and he was enjoying designing dozens of websites and is still doing that.
Nice. Well, shout out to Justin.
Yes, they got a strong team over there. Justin and Kathy.
Shout out to those guys. Fellow New Hampshire Wizards. Let's go.
Exactly. They are marketing wizards. I'll give them that. So,
Man. Well, I love that. Break the stuff, fail at it, learn from it. Man, great advice. Now, the other question is, do you think younger you would listen to that advice?
no, I was pretty stubborn at the time. I thought I knew it. I thought I knew everything. So,
Would you still have done all the golf knowing what you know now?
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Sounds like, and hey, I can think of a lot worse habits and sports and I mean, healthy and keeps you active and all that. So absolutely. Me as my IQ allows me to do an okay job at mini golf, and that's about it. That's about all I can handle.
Yeah. Well, there's like a strategy element. I think about that. I think about the, overlaps of strategy, right? Like having to plot out you don't just get up there and whack the ball and go hit it. So it's kind of a similar thing. Like you got to plot out your shots and really like in a tournament, you're thinking every hole, you kind of have a good sense of the holes you're playing and what you're going to do. Um, But I think you and I were talking about hiking a bit and that where I keep that being outside in nature and that kind of stuff alive for me today. So
That's sick. Yeah, no, the hiking, man. I'm looking forward to when the weather gets good. We're gonna hit that 4,000 peak list. We're gonna hit it. I've slowed to a crawl on that list, so it's time to jumpstart back into that, get back out there. Not necessarily now though, because people might want this podcast to continue. I don't need to turn into a frozen ice cube in the middle of some New Hampshire mountain. But
there's people who love doing that. I had some friends who love to be up. They did like all the 48 in like during the winter time. That
during the
was
winter,
nuts.
that is hardcore right there.
Not for me. Yeah. Well, this is the hardcore marketing show.
It is. It is. So we respect crazy people who risk their lives to make those climbs happen. Dude, where can people contact you? Where do you want them to reach out?
Yeah, LinkedIn's an easy place.
Awesome. And what are the kind of things when it comes to work? And I know you're taking on different projects and whatnot. Who's like an ideal client or company that you could work at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm primarily targeting software companies that are looking for one of the things that I've really enjoyed over the last couple of years is focusing in on the product marketing element. So that's kind of like the lead area that I'm looking in. Software companies looking for senior product marketing or director of product marketing, and then still open to conversations about other marketing leadership roles where those things fit. And yeah, doing a bit of consulting or contracting with some companies to help where I can in that area, right? Like smaller businesses that we talked about that investment, a little bit of an investment to kind of build out strategy and give them direction on what they need. I'm working with a guy right now who just took over business, yeah, sort of as a general manager for a business and doesn't really have any marketing background, right? He knows the business, he knows the industry, he knows how to run the company, but he just doesn't really know where to go with the marketing stuff. So working with him, working with their agency, who I know really well, and just kind of help them grow, help go on to the next journey. So
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like this, first of all, this is just fun. And then I also just have been just taking down a bunch of notes, learning a bunch of things. It's great to hear how you're viewing things. And again, it's that international, that big picture view and the business view and then the marketing view. The forest from the trees, I think, is one of my biggest takeaways here. And the patience, it sounds funny and we laugh, but dang, sometimes we just need that patience when we're lining teams. So, dude, thank you for coming on here.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Casey, for having me.
Hell yeah, man. For those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, share this with someone. That's how you're a thought leader. That's how you're a thought leader. That's how you show thought leadership is getting good information into someone else's hands. Plain and simple. Get this information out there and give a shout out to Kyle. Tell him you heard him on the pod. Bring him in on your projects. He's an absolute badass. He's a beast. Thank you again, Kyle. You're the man.
Thanks, Casey.
All right, everyone. This has been a crazy cool episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.